Analisa Six here with the Sober Curator and the Lady of Leisure to give you the July 2023 horoscope for the zodiac sign of Pisces for sun and rising placements. Hi, Pisces. How are you? Last but not least, we are getting to your month ahead for July. Let's start out with a bang. So it's July 3rd today, and I'm just going to go ahead and talk about July 1st, where we were at starting out the month. On July 1st, we start every July out in Cancer season, but this Cancer season, we had a transit that doesn't always happen right away. It's called a cazimi when the sun and Mercury make a conjunction in the sky. And the area that this cazimi was happening for the Pisces horoscope was the area that represents our relationship to self-expression and creativity. It also is the area of the chart that connects us to more of our relationship to our inner child, children in general, joy, playful kind of outgoing energy that allows us to really let go of responsibility and mundane reality and get into a place where we're just experiencing life the way that we want to and creatively expressing ourselves in a way that promotes empowerment within the self. It's also an area that's connected to what we have passion in or towards in life, and then how we are I'm trying to figure out how I want to say this. This area of the chart also connects us to romance and the way that we enjoy romantically connecting to others, especially in partnership dynamics, but it can also just be the way that we like to romanticize the things that bring us joy and how we like to share that with others as well. It's the house that Leo traditionally rules, but in the Pisces horoscope, we have Cancer here. The other celestial body that's passing through this area of the chart at the start of July for Pisces is the asteroid Juno, which is the asteroid that represents contractual partnership like marriage. And so the way that we're connecting romantically to a partnership dynamic could be emphasized for you as a theme kind of going into July. So this is something that I think is really positive for Pisces in the sense that Cancer makes what is called a trine to Pisces energy, which is an easy flow of energy. And so Pisces being an energy that's also really tied to music and art and creative energy, having Cancer highlighted here at the start of July could really promote artistic creativity or connection to that. One of the things, though, that can also happen if we're not getting our needs met is that we are more prone to depression or big feelings during this time because it's, in the water element. So water represents our intuition, our sense to our feelings, emotions, all that kind of stuff. And so when we have this area activated, if we're not doing things that promote spiritual growth or fulfillment or even our creative fulfillment, we're more inclined towards escapism through substances like alcohol or drugs in some way, and also falling into a depression. And so it's really important if you are feeling kind of out of touch with the things that make you happy, that you start kind of figuring out how to re-inspire yourself to feel more creative and actively pour your energy into that versus things like substances, because you are more prone to wanting to escape through substances during Cancer season, for sure. Some of the other things that we have starting out the month of July is Venus and Mars, Pallas Athena, and Lilith all in the sign of Leo. And the area that this is hitting for the Pisces horoscope is the area that has to do with our health and also our daily routine and how we set ourselves up for success in our daily routine every day and how we're of service in the world. And so the way that we are of service in the work that we're doing or to other people. Leo being in the area that rules the health, Leo has a connection to the heart as well as the spine. And so spinal and heart health is emphasized for Pisces during this time. And it's really important that you're doing things that advocate and promote good spinal and heart health, since those things are highlighted. And Mars and Pallas Athena, not necessarily Pallas Athena, but Mars passing through here can make you more susceptible towards injuring those things. So if you've been having any complications with your spine or any back pain, getting that addressed and really focusing on that is positive for you, whether that's through physical therapy or daily exercises that help promote good heart and back health. If you did injure yourself, making sure that you're getting lots of rest and doing the things that you need to do to heal from any injury like that is also really important for the Pisces dominant person. Pisces itself rules the feet too. So your feet might also be highlighted in that, just in terms of having that be something that's important for your archetype anyways. So the Leo energy is actually making a lot of aspects to Pisces over the next month in July. And I talk more about those aspects in the July astrology forecast video. But the stellium that we have in Leo is going to be, over the month hitting Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, which, we have in the area that's influencing your identity and sense of self. So your heart health, your feet health, your back health, and then your spiritual health and your relationship to art and creativity are all things that need to be kind of looked at and focused on for the month of July. So finding ways to fulfill yourself in those ways are really important. On July 3rd, which is today, we have this full moon in Capricorn that's hitting at 11 degrees. And the area that that's hitting for the Pisces chart is the area that has to do with our relationship to our community, as well as any kind of group organizations that we might be a part of. Capricorn is the cardinal earth archetype that has a lot to do with what we feel guided towards manifesting within the physical, especially when it comes to our work life and our physical, tangible goals. It's a very driven archetype when it comes to physical, material success. And having it in the area that has to do with our community, we might be focusing on goals that we have around how we're of service to our community, especially with all this Leo energy hitting so intensely. And so you might be reflecting on, who am I in my community, and how do I do the things in my community that give me a sense of fulfillment and purpose, and how do I accomplish those goals that I might have in this group project or in the community that I'm serving or being a part of. Those are big themes during this full moon. Full moons are a time for releasing energy as well as setting intentions. So if you have goals of who you are in your community, or the ways that you're of service to your community that you want to meet, whether that's through volunteer work or activism, advocacy work, whatever that is, this is a really positive time to set those intentions. It's also the area that represents our friendship circles. And so if you also have, goals around the people that you surround yourself with, that could also be something that you set intentions towards. Or if there's friendship circles that you don't feel in alignment with anymore, and you feel like you need to cut ties and move away from those friendships, that's also highlighted during this time. So you can really use the energy to your, benefit and do a ritual, releasing ritual or manifestation ritual around those themes, if that is something that you're feeling in alignment with. You can let me know in the comments what you felt in alignment with during this time, or anything that I said resonated for you in that way. As we get a little bit more into the month, on the 10th, Mercury is going to be leaving Cancer and entering Leo, and entering that area of the chart that I was discussing at the beginning that has to do with our health and our daily routine. And Mercury actually rules this area of the chart. And so it's a really positive area for Mercury to be in house-wise. And it's going to also promote making more structured plans or goals around the daily routine aspect, and especially the health. So if you're, somebody like me, where sometimes I'll get in these funks where it's really hard for me to, it's not even a funk so much. I have vertigo on a daily basis. And so there's a lot of physical activities that trigger my vertigo that I used to be able to do on a regular basis. And there's a lot of things that promote good health in my body that I can't always do. And so I'll get in a place where my vertigo is really bad. And so then I'm not, foam rolling or exercising in the way that I know helps my body, because I don't want to experience the vertigo. And then once my vertigo dies down, I have to work really hard at getting back into this physical routine with my body. And so that's kind of one of those things for me where I feel like Mercury coming into this area for Pisces, it's like if you've been kind of going through whatever version of that might be for you, or maybe let's say you've been working a lot, or you've been super social, or maybe you went on a trip or out of town. And so things that you normally would do on a day-to-day basis in terms of like what you eat or how you exercise, or maybe ways that you organize or clean your house, if any of that stuff has been kind of discombobulated, Mercury entering this area might help you get it all honed back in, where you're like, okay, I'm waking up at this time, I'm doing this for my health and my body today, I'm cleaning on this routine again, which, I got off of. Mercury entering this area should really help you kind of gain control again over parts of your life that you might have felt like you didn't have maybe as much time to do if you were focusing more on creative energy or things that were bringing you more fulfillment in a different way. So I think it'll be a good time for that. The other thing that also plays a role in this and emphasizes that is that on the same day that Mercury is entering Leo on the 10th, we also have Mars entering Virgo. And the area that this is transiting to, and Pallas Athena is also moving here too, is the area that represents partnership. So romantic partnerships, but also best friends and also business partnerships. And Mars, whenever Mars enters the house, it brings a little bit of unrest and conflict here, or challenges here, but it also brings determination, ambition, and drive. And so we might be experiencing some conflict within partnership dynamics over the month of July, the Pisces person. And Virgo is also the opposite sign of Pisces. And so there's a little bit of this opposites and repulsion happening, but it also is asking for integration. And so, you know, Pisces being mutable water, Pisces has a very intuitive, emotional, and spiritual kind of way of dealing with things that can also lend itself towards procrastination and escapism when it's not in its evolved state. And so if you're having conflict in a relationship, you have to be really mindful about the amount of emotionality you bring to it, in the sense that there might be aspects that could be more practically approached in a problem solving type of way. And so even though it's really important for Pisces to sit with feelings and process them and talk about them and work through them, there needs to be sometimes a stopping point that Pisces has a hard time with. Pisces has a hard time with boundaries. And so Virgo, being the mutable earth energy, has a better time being a little bit more practical or pragmatic about how to solve a problem. Doesn't mean that, you know, mutable people can still be scattered. So sometimes Virgo still is looking too big picture and has a harder time being linear, just the same way that Pisces can be too big picture and not linear enough. But the one value of Virgo is that it is trying to think of more of a pragmatic, practical approach to things rather than just a feeling centered, you know, kind of thing. And there's a balance to it. It's like, it's important to have feelings and things because that builds empathy and, you know, care into things, but it's equally important to have, you know, practical approaches to things because you mitigate risk and you usually can problem solve in ways that are more effective when you're thinking about it that way. So I hope this makes sense, but there's a value to both polarities. But while Mars is passing through here, you might be pushed into having to think more practically or pragmatically about a conflict with another person. And you benefit probably from doing it in a less feeling centered way and more in a practical way, if that's something that you struggle with. But again, you don't want to lose your empathy or your feeling centers either, because that is part of the Pisces strength, is being able to do that. But it's something to be aware of. On July 17th, we're going to have a new moon at 24 degrees of Cancer, and that's also happening in the area of the chart that represents self-expression and creativity. So if you've been in a place where you really feel a need and a desire to work on your self-expression, your confidence, your relationship to joy, your relationship to play, and sparking more of that into your life, this new moon on the 17th is a really positive time to set intentions towards manifesting more of that within yourself and in your, you know, relationships with others. The other thing that's happening on July 17th is that we have the nodal axis moving from the Taurus Scorpio polarity to the Aries Libra polarity for the next year and a half. And the North Node is going to be in an area of the chart that has to do with finances. And so this is a really positive time for the Pisces dominant person to get serious about building financial security and material stability, and also self-worth. Are you really having a strong relationship to self where you feel value and worthiness to have the things that you need and want out of your life, especially when it comes to money and material stability? So that's a big theme as well. And maybe even gaining more financial independence in your life, having it in the sign of Aries. As we move into the later part of July, on the 23rd, we enter Leo season. So the sun is going to be highlighting that area of the chart again that has to do with your daily routines, your health, and how you're of service in the world. And then we also have Venus stationing retrograde here. So your health is definitely going to be of great importance. It's really, really important that you do things that promote good back health, heart health, and also having a daily routine that sparks a lot of joy around taking care of yourself and the service that you do. Connecting with others is something that Leo really enjoys. And so that might be something too, where you enjoy doing this with other people and not just something that's centered on yourself. You might also be, if you're looking into, doing health and wellness stuff and wanting to share it with other people, whether it's on social media or in a class environment or something like that, that could also be really beneficial for Pisces. It's important for you to have community, I think, during some of this time. But you might also experience some health complications when Venus is retrograde here. And so it might inspire you to have to investigate or sleuth some other things that you haven't necessarily tried before. You might have to be more open-minded towards trying some other modalities of health and wellness that maybe in the past you wouldn't have tried, that now this chapter of your life is kind of pushing you towards. And so that's also really positive to lean into. And Venus will be retrograde here until the beginning of September. So this is going to be a long transit. I need to pause this for a second. I had to pause it because my husband was asking me what kind of kayak I wanted for our rental tomorrow. So we're going to go kayak up in Big Bear for 4th of July. So he wanted to know if I wanted to share one or have my own. And I was like, I want to share one, obviously, as a Leo Pisces dominant person. I want to be romantic and be in the kayak with you. But let's get back to your horoscope. So at the end of July on the 28th, Mercury is going to be entering Virgo and is going to be entering that area of the chart that has to do with your romantic partnerships, personal relationships, business partnerships, best friends, all of that stuff. And so when we're talking about, Mars being here earlier in the month and maybe kind of kicking up some dust and bringing some conflict here, Mercury coming into the mix should actually help start to bring in some insight, some resolution, some more of the analytical mind in terms of, how we're processing and thinking about some of the problems that we've been up against. And you might get into a place where thinking practically might be easier for you because it's more supported, and you might be kind of thinking more in that grounded analytical way that Virgo has a tendency towards. Virgo can also be overly anxious and neurotic and overthink things as well. And so it is really important for you to get more fact-based and practical about things if you are having too many feelings about it. It might be positive too if you are in therapy or have a therapist or people that you can talk to that help give you other perspectives on a situation. Getting their advice and support and feedback might also be really positive for you during this time as well. Mercury is also stationing retrograde in Virgo at the end of the month. And so there is a lot of potential for there to be more misunderstandings and communication in a partnership dynamic. But by the time that Venus and Mercury are stationing direct in September, there will be resolution, but we might not see the fullness of that resolution until early October. So I think Pisces, there's an opportunity here for you to really focus on yourself for the first half of July and get to a place where you're doing things that really bring you a lot of creative joy and fulfillment. And, having Saturn and Neptune in Pisces right now, there is a tendency towards depression if you're not fulfilling your own needs when it comes to your creativity. And so, those of us that are in recovery might be feeling really triggered by some of the things going on in our lives or in the world right now. But some of the ways that we can combat that is by working more joy actively into our lives and expressing ourselves creatively, whether that's just in the privacy of our own home or with others. If you're somebody where expressing yourself creatively is your job, you might really benefit from kind of pouring yourself into those projects. And, you might feel an elevated amount of creative energy at your disposal if you're choosing to lean into it. But if you're allowing kind of more of your emotionality to take over and the painful parts to take over, and you're not actively pouring it into something that ignites your zest for life, you're more prone to seeking escapism in unhealthy ways. But I think that, sometimes we have to, even if we're waking up depressed and unmotivated and sad, sometimes we just have to do things that put us in that creative mode to kind of work through it. I've been experiencing a lot of depression, and I have been forcing myself to paint, even though I'm not a painter, and I will listen to podcasts while I do it. And it's been really helpful for me with my depression. You know, I'm more of a musician, but my relationship to music hasn't really been that great in the last few years. And so when I sit down to make music, it just makes me more depressed. You know, I'm like, I don't want to do this. But doing something new like painting, where I don't have a relationship to it from the past, has been really positive. So there might be things like that that are positive for Pisces, where, you know, maybe the things that you used to do that used to ignite you aren't igniting you anymore. And that's okay. Maybe it's time for you to try some new stuff in, learn from some other people, do something that you haven't done before, and be open-minded towards seeing if you can ignite some of that passion for things in a new way, in whatever way, you know, might be interesting to you. I would recommend for the Pisces person to look into doing the artist's way, which I did at the end of last year with a friend, and it was really good for like kind of getting my creative juices flowing again. If you haven't done it before, I've had a lot of people in my life do the artist way. That was kind of cool to learn about because I had never heard of it before. And then when I was doing it, I ended up hearing that like a lot of my friends and people I knew had done it before. So that was kind of fun. And it was fun to do it with a friend. So that might be something that you find enjoyable if you're working through like kind of trying to find yourself again and your identity creatively. And yeah, I hope that July is a fruitful month for you. There's a lot of energy at your disposal in terms of reigniting your passion for things. So I'm hoping that you do, and that you find the summer to be really enjoyable. And I look forward to kind of seeing where we're all at come next month, despite the fact that there's so much retrograde energy. You know, obviously Saturn in Pisces, Neptune in Pisces, retrograde is challenging for you as a Pisces, but I also feel like, you know, Pisces is such an existentially blown out energy anyways. It's not anything that I'm sure you haven't experienced or been through on a personal level before in some way, in terms of questioning existence and why you're here. And I think that as a Pisces moon, I think the thing that I've found is I need to just stop taking things so seriously most of the time, or looking at things in such a dire, dark way. I need to just laugh at everything, have fun, create for the sake of creating, and just enjoy, you know, the parts of life that are not so heavy. And I have to constantly remind myself of that. And I think that that's something that Pisces really is going to be needing to work on over the next couple of months. So I wish you the best of luck. If you resonated with this video, let me know in the comments. If you want notifications on when these post every month, you can hit the subscribe or the like button. You can find me at thesobercurator.com and ladyofleisure.com. And I look forward to connecting with you all next month.